Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by A.G. Hines Company. 100 years, a century of history behind them. Think about this. When they opened their doors, your granddaddy was in diapers or was simply, maybe in the eyes and hopes of your great-granddaddy at that point. So that's how long they've been around. And yet they continue to provide revolutionary new building materials for anyone doing their own do-it-yourself home improvement project, like Nudura concrete forms. These forms make building easier, and your project will be much more energy efficient than steel or wood. Check out aghines.com to learn more. Visit A.G. Hines Company in downtown Knoxville. They'll really show these things to you, explain how they work. They'll take care of you. All kinds of new products, always available at good old A.G. Hines Company. All right, back with Chuck and Jimmy. We've seen a game and a half without Zakai Zeigler. Gutted out the win versus Arkansas. Hung around for 30 or so minutes against Auburn yesterday. Chuck, is the Zeigler injury a killer? I mean, I don't know how high you were on this team's tournament hopes going in anyway, but with the Zeigler injury, do you now look at it and say, no, tear it all up, there's no way they make the Sweet 16? Or are you saying, let's hold on a second there, John? Where are you?
I'm more towards there's no way.
I tried to set you up to be Mr. Orange Glasses.
I mean, it's like replacing two players to me. I mean, it's the offense, it's the defense. He was nominated for one of the best defensive players of the year in the country. You look at his averaging 11 points and 5.5 assists. He's only the 7th player in school history to do that. So you're talking about a player not just this season good, just good, and the grit he brings. I mean, he's not going to back down to anybody. And he's your best, to me, he was your best free throw shooter at crunch time. So you're taking all that out.
But other than all that.
Everybody else has to step up, and somebody's got to be able, and I think besides Vescovi, play some point.
So you're saying Final Four. Here's the thing. Coaches will disagree on a lot of things, right? They will not disagree on guard plays important at NCAA tournament time.
Yes.
Or conference tournament time. And when you take away the point guard who had the best assist ratio in the SEC and SEC games only, brought you the defense, brought you the energy, it's going to be really, really hard to overcome that. I do think that Tennessee's got a lot of other good guards, but I don't think they have a lot of point guards to replace that. So I think it's going to be very problematic for Tennessee to make a run in the SEC tournament or the NCAA tournament.
The real kick in the pants with this injury, not only do you lose him for the tournament, which, let's face it, you had lost a lot of games down the stretch here even with him. So you hadn't been playing your best basketball since you hit number 2 in the country. You'd got the win over Alabama, which was great, but you hadn't played your best basketball in some time now, even with him. So I don't know what you were going to do in the tournament, even with Zakai Zeigler. But the problem is now you're going to lose him for a considerable chunk of next year, too. We don't know how his rehab's going to go. Let's assume it goes smashingly well. You're still going to miss him for the non-conference portion, you would think.
You would think.
Perhaps. I mean, you've got guys, Hendon Hooker, we'll talk about this later. He's expected to be ready for the start of the regular season, is his medical report for next year. That's pretty darn good. But I would say if you get him back for the start of SEC play, you're doing all right next year. This is a kick in the pants for this team to lose him for next year.
It would be. If it plays out, somebody told me I wouldn't play him until SEC next year, and I thought, well, if I could, I might play him against Alabama A&M or Prairie View or something in December just to get him a few minutes before SEC play starts. But and that would be perhaps the best case scenario. So
I think what you're looking at a minimum of 8 months, and a lot of that depends on how bad it is. And I heard some of the doctors, talking NFL running back's going to be a year. So you're looking at this. Yeah. But you're looking at probably a minimum of 8 months. But you've seen him. Have you seen the video of him going around on that little scooter and the comments yesterday during halftime? He's going to come back stronger and better than ever. So if anybody can, he can.
Well, and they say that the first message to his teammates after the injury was an apology.
Right.
I mean, he's everything you want. There's a reason he's a fan favorite, and it's brutal. Well, we'll get into it later, but the similarities between Hendon Hooker and Zakai Zeigler, right down to the double initials, the injuries, when they occurred, how they occurred. It's just unfathomable. Is Tennessee cursed? We'll cover it later. But here's my question. Let's put up a graphic here. Hopefully you can read this. If not, I'll tell you what it is. There's an orange line down there, and what it shows is B.J. Edwards. Everybody above him averaged at least 10 minutes per game this year. Now, that is deep for Rick Barnes. He usually doesn't go this deep. He had 10 players that averaged at least 10 minutes. One of those guys was not B.J. Edwards, the four-star point guard who came in from Catholic, who a lot of people thought would step right in this year and play. He played 56 minutes all year long, averaged 4 minutes a game, played in only 13 games. It's a tough question to ask, but that's what we're here for, and that's why Rick Barnes makes $5-6 million a year. Should he have had B.J. Edwards ready, since that's the only other pure point guard you have on your team?
First off, I'm surprised B.J. Edwards didn't play a lot more this year. This is a guy that went head-to-head with Kennedy Chandler and went head-to-head with Jaden Springer and held his own or outplayed him. So I thought when he came in, he was such a good competitor, he was going to contribute right away. The thing that's hard to answer about that is I don't know what he's done in practice. Does he turn it over 42 times in practice? I don't know those things. I am surprised he didn't play more. I am surprised he wasn't ready to go. And I'm surprised he didn't play against Auburn.
Yeah, and the other thing too,
Especially after Barnes said this is not a guy we're not scared to put him in there,
Right.
And then you don't see him.
and with that stat too, boy, doesn't it seem like he had a quick hook even when he did get in there? Whether it was like a defensive something or maybe not 100%, and it's a tough position to play for freshmen.
Certainly, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and maybe that'd have been less wear and tear on Zakai Zeigler if you would have had B.J. Edwards getting more minutes.
Yeah, I mean it's tough, but that's what you make the big money for. That's the way this game is played. People ask you questions after the fact, and in hindsight, I think you'd wish that you'd have given some time to B.J. Edwards at this point. You could have used him and at least found out what you've got with him. And we still really don't know. Rick Barnes made the comment talking about him when this first happened to Zeigler that, well, in our program, you got to come in. First thing you got to do is learn how to practice every day. And I'm like, okay, sounds great. But the reality is, guys in his program do improve. They do get better from first year to last year, most of them. He knows what he's doing. He's in the Hall of Fame, but boy, this one's difficult not to second guess, the fact that you didn't have Edwards ready.
You'd also hope that Edwards would have improved from the first day of practice, whenever, August, to now, to where you would feel more comfortable putting him in the game.
Okay, when we come back, what's Tennessee's SEC tournament path look like? What do we expect in terms of NCAA seeding? We got that. We're going to grade Rick Barnes for the regular season. Then we're going to move into Vitello and football and that curse, hex, voodoo thing I was mentioning earlier. All that to come. Come on back on the Sports Source.
Away from home? Watch the Sports Source live at WATE.com.